Imagine this. You wake up one day and suddenly notice that you no longer run after anyone, that the weight of need has evaporated, and that the person who ignored you yesterday begins to feel a strange emptiness when you are not around. Why does it happen? Because you've touched a chord few people know, the detachment that attracts, the detachment that hypnotizes, the detachment that turns your absence into an obsession. And today I'm going to show you how that mystery works. Most people live enslaved by an invisible pattern, chasing, insisting, begging for a bit of attention as if life depended on it. What they don't understand is that in that instant they become disposable, easy to forget. But when you let go of the rope, when you withdraw the energy you were unconsciously giving away, something shifts in the air. Suddenly your silence weighs heavy, your distance is felt, your calm becomes an unbearable mirror for the other. And that's when the hunt begins, not yours, but theirs. The fascinating thing about this kind of detachment is that it's not a trick or an act. It's an internal shift that transforms you. You stop revolving around someone else's uncertainty and start inhabiting your own center, a center so magnetic that others cannot ignore it. Because the most brutal paradox of psychology is this: the more need you show, the more people run. The more self-sufficient you are, the more they want to enter your world. Today, I'm going to take you to the heart of that unsettling truth. Let me warn you, it won't be comfortable. Because in order for others to look for you, you'll first have to face your own fear of disappearing. You'll have to stare straight into that anxiety that pushes you to write, to call, to wait for replies that never come. And when you finally dare to let go, you'll discover what very few people know. Authentic detachment doesn't create distance. It creates attraction. It's not about punishing the other with your absence. It's about becoming such a full emotional space that they can't resist the temptation to come back to you. Stay, because what you'll hear in this video isn't empty theory or recycled motivational quotes. It's an X-ray of your mind, the brutal explanation of why you were always the one chasing, and how everything can be reversed starting today. And the curious thing is that in that moment you stop waiting. The other begins to feel something they've never felt with you before. Discomfort at your silence, hunger for your presence, curiosity about what world you walk in now that you no longer offer all your energy. Here emerges a psychological phenomenon very few know: projected emptiness. When you were filling the space with your messages, your gestures, your unconditional availability, the other allowed themselves to rest, to not invest, because they knew you were always there. But when you cut off that flow, when you suddenly remove what was free, the brain interprets the absence as loss. And what was routine becomes mystery. That mystery is your greatest power, because while most people exhaust themselves explaining, justifying, begging for understanding, you learn to hold silence like a weapon. You don't reply in haste. You don't give your attention as if it were unlimited. You don't bleed out in justifications. What you give now is scarce, valuable, measured. And what is scarce becomes gold. What is limited becomes desire. The human mind works like this. What is abundant is despised. What is hard to obtain is idolized. This is where the role reversal happens. It's no longer you asking where the other is, but them asking where you are. It's no longer you fearing the distance, but them feeling your absence like a shadow that follows them even when they try to ignore it. because your calm is so disconcerting it generates questions impossible to silence. Why don't they need me anymore? Why do they seem so at peace without me? What do they have now that they didn't before? And those questions open a space of instinctive attraction that no amount of chasing could ever achieve. The most striking thing about this kind of detachment is that it goes beyond love. Think about your job. When you shed the fear of losing a position, your value rises, your presence carries more weight. Think about your friendships. When you stop begging for invitations or forcing plans, suddenly people start to wonder why you're not so available anymore, and that absence hurts them. Think even about your family. When you learn to set real boundaries, when you don't break at every demand, your energy becomes respected. Your figure gains a weight it never had before. Here's the truth no one tells you. The detachment that attracts isn't a disguise, it's an internal transformation. You don't play at being absent, you don't manufacture coldness to manipulate, you don't calculate moves like a chess player. You simply learn to recognize yourself as a finite resource, as someone whose attention is too valuable to waste. And when you internalize that, you transmit it without words. That vibration is impossible to fake, and it's what makes your presence unforgettable. Now tell me, isn't it unsettling to realize you've spent your whole life giving your power away backwards? That what you thought brought you closer, the insistence, the availability, the fear of losing, was exactly what pushed you away, and that the only thing you had to do was let go, return to yourself, back to your center. The irony is that this return, which looks selfish, is the only thing that makes you magnetic, because those who are enough for themselves become a territory everyone wants to revisit. And not because you ask, but because deep down they know there's something there they won't find anywhere else. And this is only the beginning. Because once you understand how this kind of detachment works, you no longer see it as a strategy, but as a way of life. A way in which your energy multiplies, your peace becomes a shield, and your presence a magnet. And I promise you, once you apply it, you'll discover you'll never have to chase again, because others will inevitably end up chasing you. And here is where the most disturbing part of all this hides. When you begin to inhabit your center and stop giving away your attention unfiltered, the entire world changes color. What once seemed normal, small manipulations, strategic silences, power games, starts revealing itself with brutal clarity. Suddenly you see what you never saw before, that many bonds weren't love or friendship, but chains disguised as companionship. And you realize it wasn't them who trapped you, it was you clinging to the rope, afraid to let go. That discovery hurts, but at the same time it opens a fascinating door. Because when you break the habit of chasing, something you never imagined arises. Your vision becomes sharper, your intuition keener, your judgment firmer. It's as if detachment uncovers a dormant force inside you, a force that had been waiting years to be released. You no longer live anesthetized by the fear of abandonment. Now you begin to taste what true emotional freedom means. And here is where the truly mysterious happens. When you no longer surrender your peace to external whims, others begin to feel a strange kind of emptiness, as if they were missing air when you're not there. They don't say it out loud, but they feel it. Because your energy is no longer something that could be consumed without consequence. Now it's a delicacy not easily obtained, and what isn't easy becomes irresistible. Think about this. The human being always chases what seems to slip away. Not because it's unreachable, but because the mind is programmed to value what it doesn't dominate. And when you stop being conquered territory, when your presence is no longer guaranteed, you become the mystery that can't be solved. That mystery is addictive. It sparks questions, it sparks need, it sparks desire. And the most powerful thing is you don't generate it with tricks, but with the radical calm of someone who no longer needs to prove anything. Now observe the paradox. The more anchored you are in yourself, the more stable you become. The more confidence you project, the more solid you appear in others' eyes. And that solidity is a natural magnet, because in a world full of anxious people, needy and desperate for attention, the one who radiates calm becomes an oasis. People flee from noise but cling to serenity, and you, by letting go, become that silent place everyone eventually longs to return to. Don't you see it? Here lies the essence. Detachment not only makes others seek you, it makes them remember you. Because while most people are forgettable, you become unforgettable precisely by not insisting. You turn into a persistent echo in the other's mind, an echo that doesn't disappear because it feeds on what can't be controlled. And tell me, is there anything more seductive than something that can never be fully possessed? That's why this journey isn't about abandoning anyone, but about rescuing yourself. And when you do, you'll see the world start revolving around you without you lifting a finger. Because authentic detachment doesn't push you away, it elevates you. And from that height, others no longer see you as someone begging, but as someone they inevitably want to reach. And there is something even deeper that almost no one dares to face. True detachment not only changes the dynamic with others, it also alters the relationship you have with yourself. Because when you learn to stop chasing, you're no longer validating your existence through someone else's gaze. You begin to recognize your own value in silence, without witnesses, without applause. And there a fascinating phenomenon occurs. Your self-esteem stops being a sandcastle that crumbles with every wave and becomes an immovable rock that doesn't depend on anyone's tide. This change is so radical that even your body language transforms. You no longer walk hunched over or with the urgency to attract attention. Now your very posture transmits presence. Your voice takes on a new texture, your gaze a new firmness. Your way of inhabiting spaces projects something people can't explain but cannot ignore. Because authentic detachment generates a silent magnetism, the kind of attraction that doesn't impose itself but weighs more than any desperate shout. And here comes a new level. When you master this state, the other begins to perceive that you are not someone who can be easily manipulated. They lose the weapons they once used against you, because silence disarms more than 1,000 arguments, because calm unsettles more than confrontation. By no longer reacting with anxiety, you break the script the other expected. And what was once a power game becomes neutral ground, where you decide how much to give and how much to keep. But beware, because this ground also has a dark side. When you no longer depend on the other, many will feel threatened. They'll realize they've lost the control they thought they had over you, and their first reaction will be to try to regain it. They'll do it with sudden compliments, with apparent interest, with strategies to drag you back into the old cycle. And here's the key. If you fall, you lose. If you stay centered, your value multiplies. Because true detachment isn't a one-time act. It's a discipline, a constant training of your mind not to give away what's yours. Your peace, your time, your energy. The most surprising thing is that this way of living also impacts your ability to decide. Before, everything you did was filtered through the question, what will he or she think if I do this? Now decisions come from a much more powerful place. What do I really want? And that simple question changes your entire life because it puts you at the helm. And when someone sees you steering your ship without fear, calmly, with direction, the human instinct is to draw closer. Because people look for leaders of their own security, even if they never admit it. So make no mistake, this kind of detachment isn't indifference, it's emotional mastery. It's the ability to create a space within you so solid, so full of life, that others cannot help but be drawn to it. And the most ironic part is that the less you need others to seek you, the more uncontrollable their need to find you becomes. And now we arrive at the point most people fear to hear. The detachment that makes people look for you isn't magic, isn't a secret hidden in an ancient book, nor is it a formula for manipulation. It's the inevitable consequence of having made the hardest decision to stop running from yourself. Because when there's no longer any corner to hide your insecurities, when you decide to face the inner void and learn to fill it yourself, the unexpected happens. You become someone impossible to forget. The real impact of this path isn't measured in how many messages you receive, nor in how many people try to get you back. It's measured in something far subtler and more powerful. The serenity you feel at the end of the day. That calm that doesn't depend on anyone's opinion. That silent strength that allows you to walk through life without the constant fear of being abandoned. And the best part is that serenity doesn't go unnoticed. The other smells it, senses it, perceives it as an enigma they can't solve. And that's when their instinct compels them to chase you. This ending isn't an empty promise, it's a warning. If you decide to practice this kind of detachment, be ready to change the rules of the game. And now that we've made it this far, before we continue, I want to present the following to you. Our book, The Formula of Awakening, is now available. Do you feel like there's something inside you that wants to awaken, but you don't know where to start? Then I invite you to transform your way of thinking, and with it, your way of living. Discover who you can become. Start today. The link to get the ebook is in the first pinned comment of this video. Grab your copy now at a great price. With that said, let's continue with the video. Be ready to see how the very same people who once took you for granted now tremble at your absence. Be ready to experience how your silence becomes a roar that echoes in their minds. Be ready to understand that true power never lay in controlling the other, but in mastering yourself. And if you've made it this far, it means a spark has already been lit inside you. Don't ignore it. Don't give it away again out of fear. Let it grow. Because while others remain slaves to need, you will have discovered the secret ground of those who don't chase, but are always chased. Before closing this video, I want to propose a challenge. Write in the comments the phrase, "I am the center, not the shadow." I want to see who's willing to claim their place, who's ready to fully inhabit themselves. And if this message stirred you, if you feel something inside you woke up, subscribe, because what's coming will shake you even more. And now I say goodbye, but not as you expect. I won't say farewell, because farewell sounds like closure. And what we've just opened is far too big to close here. So listen closely. This is not a goodbye. It is a silence. A silence that weighs, that lingers, that beats, and that will force you to return.